Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with 4 race starts. We're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4.
As the riders come back up to her and catch her and go past, another big attack off the front of the Category 1s. This is really stretched already.
She is absolutely adamant she is up for this today, and it is great to see her and the Spartan Obstacles really starting to want to shape this race up.
She's going to wind it round this corner and she's going to see the banner. It's virtually invisible till you've done the turn and it is right on top of you. It's going to be Diane Grace Burnett, your winner. It's Bulgarian and the gradient goes up. It's going into the red zone as their legs start to explode, but Bulgarian has got it. She's got the power. Can they answer her? Speed is trying to come. She's not going to get it. Bulgarian takes the win here. Listen to Bulgarian, who are going to be fighting this out. Now they're starting to wind this up. You can see the yellow gantry coming up in front of them. That's the dip. This is the rise. Bulgarian's leading this out. Bulgarian is putting an extra big kick. She's going to make it.
She let all the other riders jump away, and finally she put the crushing blow in on the final climb up to Jebel Jace. Salama Al-Kaabi closes in then on the race finish. She takes the 4th category win.
Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier race number 1. It's July and we're kicking off another round of racing. It's great to be back, and thank you very much to Anthony for being here last week. He joined Emma down in the studios, and Emma Martin here once again to take us through all of the action. Thank you, everybody who asked where I was. I was actually out commentating for the UCI, which is the world's governing body, on some BMX racing, which is a 40-second blast down the straight. And it's going to be a lot longer today. Emma, it's great to be back down in the studios, and I've missed all our riders on MyWhoosh not being here, but I did watch all of the racing and almost managed to watch it all live. And I was jumping about in another commentary box instead. This time we're back in our studios as always, and we've got a great course today. I'm really looking forward to this because we're in one of my favourite worlds on MyWhoosh. We're in Colombia.
We are indeed. So nice to have you back, Matt. We are here for the Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier race number 1 in July, and 35 kilometers, 537 meters of climbing, and we are indeed in Colombia. And take a look at that. We have 5 sprint segments today and 2 climbs. The first one of those is a category 2 climb, average gradient 2.9%, but a category 4 climb coming towards the end as well, and that's where the checkered flag will be on the top. Now, in between those 2 climbs is a rolling section, and that is going to be interesting to see if we have a group of riders transitioning between those 2 climbs, or whether we have a lone leader at that point in the race.
Well, indeed, the section, that mountain, it's big. It's very, very pretty, but it isn't half big. It's got a big level of ascent, and that transition section is really critical. And if you haven't watched it before, well, I expect that to be a very interesting FRB section up in the middle. Now, as you can see, we've got 4 categories. Our riders divided into 4, and that is category 1 in yellow, category 2 in green, category 3 in blue, and category 4 in red. Now, our riders start with category 4 as our first set of riders away, with category 1 being the last. But let's jump in with our first riders who are going to be setting off on to our course today. All individuals today, because this is a qualifier rather than a final, so we tend to find our riders riding as individuals, although they may have teammates in there, and a big field and some of our big favourites in there.
Oh, 18 riders on the start sheets today in this Category 4 race. And we do indeed have some great riders on this list. Alcabi, Giraldo, Sarasuk, Kirchner, Vink, Dalasay, Tanglian, Lytton, Alzat are all in here, as well as a number of others. So I think this is going to be a really good opener to July.
Well, let's have a look. No Bulgarian on that list that Emma read out, who took the victories. So let's get our riders underway. We're going to kick off Sunday Race Club for July. Here we go. It's time to see who can put the pedal to the metal, who's got the power from the start, and away we go. So this is the start of Sunday Race Club Qualifier Race number 1. Our Category 4 riders out from the pens and onto the course. And we're going to make our way around the flatlands first. We're going to go over those bridges. We're going to work our way back round, and then we're going to come back past these pens and back into the tunnels before going up onto the climb. Great scenery, great racing coming up. Emma, that packs out. They're moving well.
They are indeed, and they're already up to 35 kilometres an hour, which is a great start out of that pen with Ella Vink leading them out there in that yellow helmet. Now, this is a really interesting start to the course here in Colombia because it is pretty flat for the first 20 kilometres, apart from the bridges. And never one to not pay attention to those bridges because they might seem innocuous, but they are not. They are the place where I would expect riders to start little pushes, starting to get that group smaller. They're not going to win the race on those bridges, but they will indeed shrink the group. And, well, talking about winning the race on those bridges, this is not even 1 kilometre at the moment. And Ella Vink putting an attack in here. And this is a concerted attack here for nearly 5 watts per kilo to come off the front of that group from Vink.
Well, there's nothing like giving everybody an easy start, is there? Ella Vink stretching it out there and seeing who's awake. And you got Brittany Lytton behind. I mean, absolutely, that was a real kick. Now, we're in with Brittany Lytton with the white helmet there, just going onto the wheel and just coming alongside Ella Vink there. And sometimes that is the tactics that you use, isn't it, Emma? We see the riders going in, they put in a kick, they wait, right, let's see if we can catch somebody out early and maybe bring this group down.
Well, they caught me out early because there I was making an assumption about the course profile, and we should know by now, never make an assumption, because a smart rider reads the course, makes the assumptions everybody should make by looking at that course map, and then plans their race tactics. And pretty much Vink and Lytton there pushing on Giuliano and Giraldo, crossing over, and look at the gap there already that they've established, Matt.
Yep, there's a big gap there opening up as our riders hit the very first of our segments. Now, the Jungle Trek Sprint is segment, and they're going on and through. So, oh, sorry, it's not Sigma side. It's just coming up. Here we go. It's going the other direction, of course, because we come the opposite direction down here. We go round in a big loop here, Emma, and we're going to catch this going the other way. So the green banners are the segment banners. In fact, we're going through the start now, but it's going in the opposite direction. So this is one big loop, and we come back round and go back through. There you go. You can tell I'm rusty and I haven't been.
Yeah, you've
on
had
this
a week
course.
off, haven't you?
I
Because
know,
at
it's always dangerous.
At 1.7 kilometres, that is not the start of the first sprint segment. That is at 6.3 kilometres today.
I'm getting
into this
all
course.
Excited, like Ella Vink is once again pushing
Well,
on and trying to break the gap, and the gaps are opening, and then it's reforming. But that is costing people energy, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you something, Vink has established a really good gap here. So Vink, Lytton, Giraldo, Dalasay and Giuliano, 5 riders now clear, and it is 12 seconds. So the effort that Lytton, Giraldo, Dalasay and Giuliano have put in to cross to Vink and to go with her, absolutely being rewarded at the moment, because 5 riders now away already. 2 kilometres of this 35-kilometre race now complete, and a leading group of 5 riders already at the front of this Category 4 race.
And it's starting to split again, so really a fast action. So whereas we might have thought from the course profile it was going to be a slow start and roll round and onto the climb, oh no, it's not. Everybody's realised that you can't just make it pay in the final climb. Now, will our Category 3 riders do the same? They are in blue. They're on the left of your screen and come up onto our big screen. We're in with Maria Jose Zabala at the moment. Let's take a look again. individual riders today, no teams in there. Great to see that we've got some of our regulars, people like Golden Light in there, but we've also got one or two riders maybe who we're expecting big things of today in this qualifier.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. We've got 17 riders on the start sheets in Category 3 today. Marin is here, Agudelo, Montoya. Mary Joyce Coking is here. She came up from Category 4 and has been doing her thing, going off hard early. It's going to be interesting to see whether she does that today. Jose Sabala is here, Pelagio and Fernanda, Ospina as well, and Hadlock, as the seconds count down with this field ready to go. So away go Category 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier race number 1 for July. So as way goes Zabala, she's up at the front of this group and leading them out as Agudelo comes up and over the top. So Agudelo pushing on now, and the pace coming up nice and quickly here. Very quick off this start line, 200 metres into this race, 35 kph. So the group coming out the start pen really strongly today.
Yeah, that speed building here, Emma, isn't it? It's we're seeing it flicking up towards 40s, right? It's just to modulate the pace and power, and they're going to want to jump in. So if you haven't watched MyWhoosh before, welcome. It's great to see you joining us here on the Sunday Race Club. Every single Sunday of the year we are here, and the only exception to that is when we have the MyWhoosh Championships in the past 18 months or so, which is of course where we saw that $1 million prize fund go out. Now, as these riders make their way down here, these are our Category 3. Our riders go in reverse order. So our standard category, which is Category 4, they are the first riders away. Then the riders who have managed to put the performances down to get themselves qualified into Categories 3, then 2, then 1 go away, with a 5-minute gap between each of those categories. It does mean that they get some clean racing before we get too far into the course, and they basically can work themselves out. And we saw in Category 4 breakaway going, gaps opening up at the moment. Category 3 all together taking advantage of the draft. We will see Categories 2 and 1 going. Now, at some point, they're likely to all come together. Our riders can draft from each other, and the draft on esports absolutely critical here on MyWhoosh, and it is a key skill. If you need to know one skill, I would suggest this would be the one, Emma.
I would agree with you completely. Drafting and making the most of the draft opportunities, absolutely key. Often not the rider with the highest power who wins a race, often the rider with the lowest average power across the course, because they're the ones who have made the best of the draft and save their energy for when they needed it. Now, talking about making the best of this draft, look how tight this pack is at the moment in Category 3. Very different start to Category 4, because this is what's happening in Category 4 at the moment, and Vink pushing on now on the first of those bridges. She's up and over the bridge, and you can see the attack that's gone in on the bridge, and only Lytton able to go with her. So Vink and Lytton 1 and 2 in Category 4. Geraldo, Giuliano and Dalasay 24 seconds behind now. That is the rest of what was a leading group of 5. And even further back, so another 30 seconds back from Geraldo, Giuliano and Dalasay, is indeed the chasing group. So this is a phenomenal effort and an early effort from Vink and Lytton. Let's not forget they've got a Category 2 and a Category 4 climb coming towards the end of this course today. Now, I say they need to be mindful of that, but we know Ella Vink can climb.
We do, and I think one of the things that's really struck me as I had a little look back through the results, which you can find on the MyWhoosh.com website, is that probably Ella Vink hasn't had the victories that maybe her performances would indicate she should have had, because she's been really, really strong, but she's not necessarily had as many victories as you would expect. And I think to some degree that's because she's always aggressive. She's enjoying the racing, I think.
Well, and also when we saw Ella Vink ride in the MyWhoosh Championships, the longer distance suited her. You know, the women's races and the women's stages were 50 kilometres. The Sunday Race Club 35 kilometres. Some riders preferring that longer endurance effort, and Vink definitely one of those riders. She really came to her fore in that stage race, and I think, you know, she's going out hard today to push that.
Okay, Let's see if she can continue that into the finish. We're going to move across to our Category 2 riders next. We're in to the last 45 seconds or so. And again, this is going to be a field of individual riders. No teams joining the fray as official teams. That will change when we come to our finals at the end of the month. Really looking forward to that already. Big names in here, and riders who attack regularly from the gun. Angie Parra.
Yeah, she's on the start sheets today. So is Gonzalez, Ochoa, Acevedo, Embring, Jenny Sanchez, who came across the line first in the final, Walkenhurst and Hermassen.
Let's see who's going to take this out. We're ready to go. It's qualifier number 1. It's category number 2. And we are the third category away. It's the start. And at the moment, you can just see an arrowhead forming on the front. We're in with Julia Walkenhurst, now Quintero, just taking a look up from above, and it looks like 1 or 2 riders you can see on the top right-hand side of your screen, not quite getting the start they want, getting a little bit distanced here behind this group. So the satellite navigation view, top right-hand side, just showing that we have 1 or 2 riders maybe just not quite up to speed.
Now, we talked about drafting being the number 1 technique that you needed to understand on the MyWhoosh platform. I would say timing your start is the second technique you need to master. You don't want to go too early because you'll burn too much energy in the pen, but you don't want to go too late because you'll miss the group going out. So absolutely practicing and nailing that timing of your start effort, really, really key.
And that is all part of riding and racing on the platform, knowing how fast, when that kick comes in, what that translates to in your avatar moving, because your avatar is the thing that absolutely counts in this, the figure on the screen moving at pace and moving away at speed. And I would agree, Emma, getting that right is critical. And if in doubt, it's better to go early than late.
Yes. Well, that's a really interesting point. As I'm saying yes, I'm thinking, is it? The key thing to be wanting to time and get right is actually the arc of your effort. So you want to be in an acceleration phase as the clock ticks down to 0. You do not want to be in a deceleration phase, because as you accelerate at the start pen, it will push your momentum through and give you a really strong start. You don't want to be slowing down as you start.
Okay, I'm going to rephrase that. The most important thing is to time your power so that you are, if in doubt, off the front of the group, not off the back of the group. Because if you're on the front, you can always wait. But if you're on the back, you've got to put in a very big effort to get back on.
Yeah, you don't want to do 2 efforts to get in the group, the effort in the start pen and then the effort to get onto the back. That really is not what you want.
There you go. Clarification from me on what I'm saying, which is always a good thing, and clarification on Emma on the stats as well. There's a reason she's a professor, that's for sure. Right, let's go back to our racing, and these are the riders that at the moment are top and tailing our course. Brittany Litton and Ella Vink on the right hand side of your screen at 7.12. They have gone through the very first of our segments, which is the Amazonias sprint. You can see that they're on to the bridges at the moment, heading back in and round. You can see on the left hand side of your screen that category 2, currently the last group away, now currently at 1.6 kilometers covered, so they are chasing. Sandwiched in between, we've got category 3, and waiting in the pens, of course, we have category 1 as well. Category 1 is the category not only of our fastest riders, also where new riders will be, and that is when they are in that period where we collect all the data. So basically, until you are assessed and we know what you're going to ride, you've done enough rides on the platform. That could be riding on the Tuesdays or on the Sunday Race Club, irrespective of how good you are. We need that data, and that data will be collected, and then you'll be allocated to a category. We don't have a fixed point in that. It's not that we say you're going to go in after 1 ride or 10 rides or 4 Sunday Race Clubs. It's dependent on how much you ride and how accurate we think that data is. Accuracy is key to get you back in, so there's no target of doing it within 1 ride or 10 rides. It's done based on when you get the data down there, and we know that we're confident in that data. And of course, that does vary from person to person because everybody's setup is different. Right, let's go from categories 4, 3, 2 to category 1, which are the riders in yellow, appropriately for the fastest riders on the course. And as you can see, they're all lined up with just over 40 seconds to go. Again, big field of individual and our biggest pack today.
Yeah, 43 riders on Category 1 start sheets today, giving us a total of 96 riders overall on the Sunday Race Club. I think there needs to be an effort to get that to over 100 within July. But today, Marin is here, and that's Maria, Daniela, and Catherine Marin. Geraldo Arrayas, Bardaskaya, Fua, Bjarhed, Estrada, who took the win last week by 0.001 of a second, and Quevedo and Olsen as well. So as the seconds tick down, our Category 1 riders, the power goes down and away they go on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club for July. The pack rolling out of the start pen. It's a big pack, and they are up to speed very, very quickly. So within 100 meters, it's 43 kph from the pack moving strongly and swiftly out of the start pen today.
Great to see these riders moving so fast, and some fantastic graphics as they set off from the pens. Don't forget, if you are watching live, you can get the uncompressed version on Twitch TV.live. You can also get it, of course, on the YouTube channel. So we have plenty of ways to watch. Make sure you subscribe to one or both of those and get notified when we go live on MyWhoosh, with lots of great videos coming out as well. This group fracturing as we would expect in Category 1, and one of the reasons for that is because, as we've said, new riders will be in here. So there'll be riders who will eventually end up in maybe Category 3 or 4, who have got a big power difference and therefore are not going to be able to go away from the start. But the key thing is to get those performances down, show us what you can do. So that's true whether it's the Sunday Race Club and you're in Category 1 racing for the first time, or if you are in the Tune Up Tuesdays. Show us what you can do. Go out and ride, and let's us see what you're capable of out and racing. And then, of course, we'll get into those categories and you'll be able to race against people. And it's that old thing. You want to race against people and have fun when you're racing, because for most people, it's all about having fun and being competitive and that race feel. Yes, we have got prizes for our riders, and that does make a big difference. But, of course, lots of people racing just because they want the bragging rights. They want to know that they're improving. They want that competitive buzz. And we've got to say, it's true probably also in the studio down here. And there's definitely competitive buzz. We always like to say that commentators can always be competitive at playing tiddlywinks.
Well,
so let's take a look and let's see if the competitive juices will flow for Emma, where she would be, because of course this is our women's race field, and let's see what she'll be able to win. Now the prizes do vary, they vary. The kickoff point is for our Category 4 riders. As you can see, the qualifying races, it's an individual classification only on the right hand side of your screen. When we go to the final, we have the team classification. Emma, Category 4 individual classification, 2,160 AED for first and 432 for second. Now, how many riders last month? Let's see what your stats are like here. I'm throwing this over to Emma, and she's absolutely unprepared for this in the sense that she didn't know this was coming. Right, are you ready? So here we go. In the month of June, how many riders would have qualified for prizes, depending on, of course, verifying?
Well, in Category 4, throughout the 3 qualifiers, so not including the final because those results have not been verified yet, 10 different riders finished in the top 5 in Category 4. So 10 different riders took away prize money in those 3 qualification rounds.
And to get the prize money, you mentioned the word verification there. That means that your ride has been checked, that the data that's coming in has been assessed, and that has been confirmed for you and all of your competitors as well, because we don't want to pay you 5th place when maybe somebody doesn't have a verified ride in first place, and you move up into fourth place and get another 432 AED.
Yeah, and let me just make a note here, because category 4, it was the least number of riders in all of the categories who took prize money away.
Okay, so the number we're looking at is 10 in this across the 4 qualifiers.
3
Okay.
qualifiers.
Okay, sorry, across the 3 qualifiers. Okay, so if we move to category 3, you can see the prize money's gone up to 3,600 for the win, 720 for fifth, and when we get to the end of the month, the prize money for the team has gone up to 18,000 AED. Now, how many riders would have taken home prize money in our category 3, Emma?
12 in the top 5 through those 3 qualifiers.
So a couple more riders there taking home the prize money, which is great because, if you're like me, that means you're either going to spend it on money, that money on ice cream, on coffee, or on bike bits. That's kind of how it works. They're probably in that priority order as well, to be brutally honest. Now, if you want to buy yourselves even more coffee, ice cream, or bike parts, well, you need to move up through the categories, because increased prize funds, 6,000 for the individual win today in category 2. When we get to the end of the month, the team prize is also ramped up to 30,000. And how many riders in this one, Emma?
So 13 riders took top 5 positions in those 3 qualifying rounds in June.
So more riders are getting category 2. And category 1, of course, well, this is the top of the tree. These are the really fast riders, and you can see that's reflected 10,000 AED. And 50,000 in the monthly final in the team classification. Spread amongst your team. It's not each rider in the team. And it does pay to be in a team, that is for sure. And how many riders, Emma?
Well, 14 riders took top 5 positions in category 1 through those 3 qualifiers in June. And let me just mention how close the team classification can be and how competitive, because subject to verification, the Spartan Obstacles won the team classification in category 1 last week from Fire Girls. 0.4 of a second separating those two teams. And bear in mind, it's your top 3 riders times added together that give you that team classification. Now, it was a huge sprint on the final last week, but let's drop in with our racing today, shall we?
Yeah, and it's Catherine Furr, who is a Spartan obstacle rider, who took an extra 20,000 across the team AED, from 30,000 to 50,000 AED for 0.4 of a second, subject to verification. Going to add that one in. So the moment we are live at the Catherine Furr, maybe you're just getting buoyed by that up at the front. That's a nice day out at the office for anybody. And we've got to remember, though, these are world-class riders. And this is all part of the policy of MyWhoosh of making esports sustainable. It's no good having esports nobody wants it to be a flash in the pan. We're seeing the Olympics being involved, World Championships. Really good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fua finishing in the top 10 in that Esports World Championships. Biarhead, who is at the front of this race as well in the Esports Olympics last week, so not with us. But this pack now rolling really strongly. So great to see as we are starting to come up to that bridge section.
Indeed, and this is where, as Emma said, we're likely to see those attacks start to come in, and already heading in through the bridges are the Category 2 women. So Category 2 in with Lisa Hermansen, a rider who had a great ride in the championship, looking good at the moment. So it's in here, we've got Quintero in here, Embring, looks like Acevedo still in touch, Kimona, Walkenhurst is in here, Barragan in here as well, and Jenny Sanchez as well. Sanchez riding very, very strongly, and definitely somebody to watch when we come on to the climbs. But at the moment, this pack are riding well, and up over the boardwalk and heading in between the rock walls here of this gorge. So actually just cut through the rock here, the roadway, and at the moment this group are really motoring 40 kilometers an hour. Category 1, 36 to 40 kilometers per hour, similar speed, and that bunch is braking and reforming under the pressure of the group. And one rider who would love this to come down to a sprint, I think, will probably be Karuk Quevedo in here. Very, very explosive rider. When we talk about having a kick to come off from the start, I think it's always very interesting that we don't see Karut Quevedo use that at the very start to put people under pressure.
Well, she definitely uses it at the end, but one rider who is back and joining us for July is Rebecca Gilson. We've not seen her for a while. So Gilson been known to time trial away from the group, and she's putting pressure on the group at the moment as they come into the second bridge. Fua marking her Morales in 3. These riders, in fact, Quevedo is up there as well, just pushing on those pedals and coming across to that group and ensuring she doesn't get caught out in the stretch, because we've seen this group of Category 1 riders on the first bridge. They split into 3 groups. They concertinaed back together, and now take a look at that. The accordion has been stretched again, and the top right-hand corner of your screen graphic really showing you what's going on in that pack at the moment.
And you can see that expansion and that compression of the riders. Now, we were on the mic on a criterium race Friday, in fact, on Wednesday as well. So, been covering some of the UK National Criterium Series this week, and stood on the side of the stage. It really did remind me that as we look down at the racing, you get this same effect that you get on the road here on MyWhoosh, that when the riders are not putting the pressure on, they go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders wide here. We saw that sort of coming down the straight.
Very, very realistic.
And
in
then
terms of
when you go, it thins out. Watch on the bridge here. So if somebody pushes on, this is as all our riders will, you're going to find that it starts to stretch. It'll get thinner. You can see an arrowhead starts to form. The riders starting to put the pressure on. Riders at the back maybe it's a little slower to react, just stretching out here. And it's Daniela Marin who is really demonstrating for us what happens. You can see behind it's become a longer line rather than a bunch, and this is so true of the racing.
Yeah, and Daniela Marin, this course should suit her today. You know, we know she's a very strong climber. She's ridden the Dubai Women's Tour in 2020, and climbing is really part and parcel of that skill set. Now, this climb that comes towards the end, she should feature very strongly there. So she's setting herself up for a really good race today.
And as you say, Emma, riding the roads, riding a tour on the road, and coming out and riding here going to make a difference. Now, our riders just coming in to the start of the Amazonia Sprint. This is the very first start sprint. Now, sprint segments and all the segments are here for information. They are discrete time. They're not the first across the line, as you may see in a Grand Tour, like the Tour de France or the Giro d'Onno that has kicked it off. Now, this is about the time through the segment. So it's possible to set the fastest time, even though you may be not the first rider through there, and it's times that count. But it gives us a really interesting snapshot on the riders and the speeds that they are traveling. And when we take a look, you can see as they've come through there, it's Daniela Marin and Karut Quevedo who really have lit up the times there at the front of that sprint, and certainly showing that they are very quick going through. And you can just see it updating as the screen goes. It went from our green riders, that's category 2, from 3rd down to 12th, now to our category 1, and that shows you these are live results. What's really interesting here, we've got Marin and Quevedo pushing on through there, getting a little bit of a gap, a response by Giraldo, and then 0.6, then over a second behind those are the other riders. And that's showing that difference in pace. It was really a part of a race bunch in flux, changing its position, changing its state, from being a static bunch coming into it to being a moving bunch going out. We've just seen a reform of that group again, but every time that we see an acceleration and then a regroup, what we're finding is riders are having to put in effort, and that is going to be taking its toll. And there's only so long you can do it. So category 1 at the moment over that big long bridge back in between the rock walls and just heading in that more enclosed space. Category 2, well, they are rolling around. They're currently at 10.18 kilometers, and that means that they are just short of 2k from the Jungle Trek Sprint, where we'll get another indication of how our riders are going and who is moving. But it still looks like a good sized bunch in category 2 as well as category 1.
Yeah, so 23 riders in that category 1 leading bunch at the moment. In the category 2 group, it is 15 riders. In category 3, that's a much smaller group, where it is looking around 12 riders now. And in category 4, She says it is the two riders out front on their own, so Vink and Lytton really establishing that gap now, very clear of the rest of the bunch. In fact, it's looking like it is now over a minute clear of the chasing group behind.
And it's after that initial kick, this is just about keeping that pace higher, isn't it? We're looking at the numbers. So if we take a look at the riders' numbers at the moment, we've got the watts up on the top left. That's power. That's pure power that's being put down, measured in watts. You can see the watts per kilo, and this really comes into its own when you come into climbing and when you're going up an ascent. That is where it is a critical number, and that's all part of esports. It is a key number for esports riders, and it's something that the riders are looking at. Because remember, one of the things that you can see when you are riding in a race, you can look at somebody and go, yep, light, powerful, speedy. You can assess them because you're sat next to them on the road. You're looking across, you're trying to work them out. When you're on esports, it's a different type of platform. So you're looking for different sources for your data and for your information. And here it's in the term of numbers. And that's a really key number as somebody who rides regularly and races on esports. It's a number that I'm always looking at in my competition, in the competition around me. It's no good just telling me what watts they're kicking out. There might be a huge sprinter who are kicking out loads of watts, but they can't climb for toffee. And so that's where I'd want to attack. So that's really important and really interesting information to have when you're racing. And it will vary from rider to rider. We find our category 4 riders generally, Emma, don't have as much power to such a good power to weight ratio as 3, then 2, then 1.
Yeah, we would normally see that, but really interesting, the race tactics from Vink and Lytton today, pushing them down the road and not just now 1 minute 44 ahead of the rest of the category 4 race field. They're 3.2 kilometres ahead of the category 3 race field. And I think that's telling us two different stories. It's telling us a story of Lytton and Vink's attack in the category 4 race and the decimation of that race field, but it's also telling us that the category 3 race field have had a very different tactical race. Now, they came out of the start pen much slower, much steadier, and they continued, and they have continued at that pace. This is a much steadier pace, so currently around 3 watts per kilo. They are on this climb at the moment, but they have been sat around 2.5 watts per kilo, and the group is all together. It's a very, very tight bunch. So 2 very different races on this qualifier race number 1 for July.
So, different tactics, different race fields, very different scenery from our category 3 who are in the caves going through on that raised bridge, from category 1 who are still out in the open trying to make their way back in and round. And at the moment, Gilson clear at the front of this race. It's Fua behind with Moreno, Bardaskaya in there, Sanchez, Bjarhead. Really sort of some very regular names here, but this is what we see from Rebecca Gilson. She really does like to race hard. I think for Gilson, the harder it is, the better she is.
Yeah, so Gilson, you're right, Matt, does like a hard race, and she's a very brave rider. She's not afraid to take it to the rest of the race field and push on and try and break the group. So Gilson at the moment pushing on here at around, wow, so currently 6.2 watts per kilo as she pushes up over this bridge. Carvajal is the rider chasing her with Fua, Quevedo, Bjarhead in there as well. Now Gilson continuing to push on the downward slopes as the group seems to start snowballing back to her, but it has stretched that group and stretched the group really strongly. Now, you were also right about Gilson. We know she will push herself to the nth degree. Gilson is the only rider I can remember, I'm going to use the word blowing up, but she has pushed herself to the absolute limit before on the Sunday Race Club in an effort to ensure the win. That particular Sunday she didn't ensure the win because as her heart rate topped 200, she seriously dug so deep. She put herself so far into the red, she almost came to a standstill. But talk about dig deep and take the effort for the win. Gilson is not known not to try.
No, I think, yeah, and
There's a lot of negatives there, wasn't there? Not to.
right. Yes, there's a lot of not. Basically, she's a rider who's going to give it
She will
absolutely
give it everything.
and more, and maybe pay the price. But that's what we love. I mean, I love an attacking aggressive rider. Anybody who's listened to me, whether that is on BMX, on the mountain bike Eliminates the XCO, on the mountain bike downhill. We look at. I just love the aggressive rider. I love the attack, the flow, and what I think is really brilliant about watching the racing on MyWhoosh, whether you're watching on Twitch TV or on YouTube, you're watching live whilst you're riding, is that there's lots of riders who are prepared to have a go, and people kind of, I think, more prepared to take a risk on esports, because when you blow up, you are in your pain game. You're at home somewhere. You're sat in the gym with your teammates. However it works, you're not in amongst the traffic. You know, the last thing you want to do is, in the middle of a bunch of 90 riders, you blow up to the point you can't stay on the bike. You fall off the bike. Well, doing that generally, I mean, we've seen Chris Hoy falling off the bike training onto a mattress beside him. Or into it in our studio, that would be against the acoustic foam on the side of the walls. But when you do that in the middle of a bunch or in the road, you can't push as hard. And I think it encourages people, because you're not personally at risk of injury in the same way as you are, because you're riding on esports.
It is one way to test where your limits are.
It absolutely.
Not that I'm going to recommend that for everybody to try.
No, don't do that unless you know what you're doing. I have to say, it's. I know everybody has a habit of getting carried away every now and then. Some of us more than others, but I think it's really important to know that the riders are going to give it everything. Now, really interesting to see. Jenny Tan is a regular for us on the Sunday Race Club. Jenny, at the moment, distance from Category 2. But she's got Category 1 coming on, and Jenny Tan is a regularly quick rider. Now, there's lots of reasons why riders get distance, not just because they can't keep up. It may be an intentional thing for tactical reasons. It could be because of training plan reasons. It could be because it's been a hard week training, and times to get a recovery ride and just tick your wheels round.
And get a qualification for the final. You do not have to be at the pointy end of the race to ensure a qualification, so you can manage your training load and your racing load and ensure you still qualify for the MyWhoosh monthly final.
Can't wait.
Well, the question is, will Tan now stay with this group of Category 1 riders? Because it's quite a steady pace at the moment. So 2.7 watts per kilo from Santiago on the front at the moment, as they go through that banner there at 12.15 kilometres. That is indeed the end of segment number 2.
And you can just see Jenny Tan on the front there. She actually just kicked out 5 watts per kilo. What she saw, I think she saw the riders coming, and then she's now got to adjust her pace.
Because they weren't moving that fast.
They're coming up, and she's kicked down hard, thinking, oh, I better get a wriggle on, and then has gone a little bit quick. And that's just adjusting to the pace. Now, as we come through the jungle trek sprint, you can see at the end of that, before it updates, it is going to be Lytton and Vink leading this out. Now, Emma, is this are we waiting an update, or is this indicative of the racing?
This is the story of the racing. So Lytton and Vink are the two riders in the Category 4 race pushing on, setting the fastest time through segment number 2. The Category 3 blue jersey riders coming through not long after that, with a couple of Category 2 riders in there. Now, the first Category 1 rider is Castano, and setting the 30th time through there. Again, 22 seconds. So let's put it this way, they are not that far out in terms of time, just 2 seconds separating more than the top 40 riders going through that section. But the Category 1 riders at that particular point in the race, steady pace, and we can see Tan now, the green jersey, in that pack.
So although our riders are all at different levels, and our 4 packs are at 4 different ability levels, what we are seeing is the riders going through at a similar pace. Now, for Category 1, that could be a nice steady recovery pace. Category 2, that could be a tempo ride. Category 3 might be on the threshold. Category 4 can be giving it absolutely full-on race beans, which we're seeing from Lytton and Vink on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. You can see the very different terrains our riders are going through. You've got Category 2 just coming out of the tunnels. Category 1 are about to go into them. It's going to get dark all of a sudden. Category 3, well, they are out on the other side of the tunnels and heading in through the mountains. And Category 4, they're in the wide open expanses, once again heading in towards our climb. So 21k covered for Category 4 leaders. It is 18k for Category 3 leaders, 16 for Category 2, and 13.5 for Category 1. So Category 1 with some work to do, but once we hit the climb, that's where those differences in power will definitely show up. And here we go, coming underneath the MyWhoosh banner, that jersey of the teams that we've seen in the Giro d'Onne and in the Tour de France with that same MyWhoosh banner. Well, at the moment it's emblazoned across the front of the cave entrance as we come into this almost I'm not sure whether it's the new Indiana Jones movie that's come out. It's sort of this very adventurous.
I've got a tune going on my head now.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely that, isn't it? You know, you've got the flaming torches at the side. You've got the wooden railings.
Do you think it would make the riders go faster if there was a big sort of solid lump of rock rolling down the road behind them?
It would me. Yeah, no one wants to get squidging by a solid roll of rock, unless it was maybe like a giant chocolate ball behind, in which case you can tell I've got chocolate.
Yeah, we're not on the finals, you know. Gelato, waffles. That's the finals. The team names are for the finals. You missed that. That was last week.
I did indeed. Well, I did miss it. I got to watch it,
you watched
which was
it.
great
That was
rather than talking. So our riders are in the caves at the moment, staying on the boardwalk, not falling into the pit of venomous snakes at the side, not getting attacked by the bats. You've not seen the film, you see, Emma. This is the difference.
I have seen the film, and I can see that is actually water underneath that bridge.
No. New
not
film.
Venomous snakes.
New film. Come out. I know what's in it. You might not, but think water and snakes.
Oh, God.
I know. It's my idea of...
Golly gosh.
Yeah,
not for me. Thank you very much.
No, not for me either. I must admit, that's... Yeah, I'm glad you're not in the studio. You can see, you'd see Emma shivering on the other side of the studio. So Emma's fright and flight kind of options. Mine's a fight option when I see snakes, and fight is what we are seeing from our riders, because Gilson, I think maybe she's scared of snakes too, because she's just headed off down the road and wants to get out of the cavern. So really accelerating her way up. You can just see going clear of the bunch. Meanwhile, the group are not reacting here. Maybe they've just got their eyes shut on the way through the caverns. We should be missing the great graphics, which are brilliant. Absolutely love this. And this is one of the things about MyWhoosh, isn't it? The graphics update all the time. It's a constantly evolving platform. And from the first time I saw Rebecca Gilson in action, I mean, we were on a very different world. It felt very different riding. Now, with Gilson coming through, now it's a brilliant experience when you're out and riding, and that constant update. And yes, it does mean there are a lot of updates, but do you know what? It's improving all the time.
Well, it is, and Gilson really pushing on here. Now, this is a really interesting attack here from Gilson. So currently at 15 kilometres, the climb does not come till 21.9k into this race. So a very steady start so far for the Category 1 riders. We said there were still 23 riders in that leading group, and Gilson obviously thinking that's too many riders to take with her. So pushing on at the moment. And, you know, the group haven't really responded yet behind. So 8 seconds Gilson's lead now at the moment. And I'm not seeing much of a pickup in the pack behind in a response to Gilson's attack.
No. It's 100%. I know anybody who's listened to us on the MyWhoosh will know that quite often I will disagree with them, and just for the sake of disagreeing with it. However, I have to agree 100% right now with you. I think that's totally 100% assessment of what's happening, because it's irrefutable. But at the moment, this is let's let it go for the moment. We are at 15k of 35k covered to cover today, so we are basically not quite at half race distance. We've got a big climb at the end up onto the mountain, up onto the Paso Alto, and at the moment this is not a response. And are they just letting go the top prize?
It's a dangerous thing to let Gilson go this early. You know, the group behind must have a lot of confidence in their ability to climb, or some of them may well have joined the Sunday Race Club more recently and perhaps not raced with Gilson before.
Or a third option for you. Here we go. Here goes the screaming. Third option, this would be my assessment of this, is that they know that if Gilson is determined to attack and go clear, that she will go clear. And their best tactic is to let her go hard enough and work hard enough to do that blowing up on the way that you talked
Gilson's
about, to
not
run out of
blow.
energy.
She's not going to blow
You said,
up.
whoa.
Well, not unless she's put under serious pressure.
But what you can't then not put her under pressure, keeping her in the group. You can see Gilson at the moment is pushing along there. That segment there, 4.6 watts per kilo from Gilson, pushing out 295 watts. Her heart rate's up at 173. Now, that's not on the limit. But if she was in the bunch, rolling around in the bunch, she wouldn't be doing that. At the moment, they are guaranteeing that she's working hard because she's off the front.
Well, the bunch are moving 4 seconds slower through what is a 300-metre segment.
And they're not working as hard, so they are making Gilson. If she was in that bunch, she'd be pootling along, and she's not being pushed. And I think that's the thing. Because let's look at it the other way. Leave her in the bunch, keep there, stay there in the bunch until you get to the bottom of the climb. I think that is, for me, a more risky tactic, because Gilson then is definitely not going to blow from the base of the climb to the top.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a little bit of a response now coming from the pack, and the pack is splitting in two. And you can see that on the left-hand side of your screen, up on the top right-hand corner, left-hand side of the screen, group in two at the moment. The backpack now starting to move back on, because it's 20 seconds to Rebecca Gilson. She's gone around that left-hand corner, and she's completely out of sight of this group at the moment. And we are now starting to see a concerted effort and a stretch on this chasing group, because I think maybe they've woken up to the danger of letting Gilson go.
Now, you see, I would not go bring her back. Absolutely not. I would get her inside, leave her at 10 seconds, so she's on her own and working, but the distance is catchable. So maybe 20 to 30 seconds up the road, because you know that she's doing all the work there. She's got no shelter, no help.
Oh, I see.
Squeeze on, make her think she's being caught, and then ease back off, and then squeeze on. Encourage her to work at the front by that power of the pack to close and back off, but never actually catch. When you catch Rebecca Gilson, you have suddenly said to her, right, you can take it easy now.
Well, I think we're going to have some disagreement in the commentary box today, because
it's going to
be interesting to see how this plays out, because I think it's a danger zone letting Gilson go. She can time trial her way from 18 kilometres to the finish at 35k at around 4.5-5 watts per kilo very comfortably. And if you've already got a 20-25 second gap as when you start that effort, there's a real big push got to come from behind. Now, I know there are some really, really class riders in that chasing group, and if they work together, they could bring Gilson back. But that's a big if.
It is, but close her down. You're not going to go anywhere. And the other way of looking at this is, of course, I'm not saying don't chase. What I'm saying is don't catch. Because the moment that you catch, you've let Gilson off the hook with her effort. At the moment, she is the only rider who's pushing through the wind, pushing through the air, breaking into that wind. At the moment, the gang behind can basically take the turn, sit at 15-20 seconds behind, wait for their moment, and then push on, knowing that every single one of them will have worked less than Gilson. And that, for me, is about saving your energy. Will it work? Not so sure, because at the moment I was just seeing 35 seconds.
She's pushing it out, and that's the issue. You know, you still got to be on it in the group behind to hold the gap. At the moment, 2.2, 2.4 watts per kilo in the chasing group when Gilson's putting out 4.5. The time gap is just expanding, you know, now at 35 seconds. So, you know, if you want to hold that gap to Gilson, you've got to continue to push. Now, what looks like, well, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, isn't it?
It is going to be interesting to see how that plays out, but in the way I'm looking at that is going to be they're either going to be switched on, but of course they might have gone, do you know what, we're not going to touch it. She's got the pace, she's got the power, go knock yourself out, kiddo. Let's see what you can do.
It's not long till we get to that climb and we start to see what is actually happening. But this is our last sprint effort, our last sprint segment before that first category 2 climb. It is indeed Gilson saying the fastest time through there, but not particularly faster than Coking, our Category 3 rider. So Category 3, Category 4 riders in that mix in terms of the fastest times through that segment. So Gilson, Coking, Hadlock, Zabala, Sarasat, Bulgarin, Obando, Montoya, Mabin, Marin, Ospina and Becerra, rounding out that top 12.
So as you can see, the top of the pack, they're headed by Gilson. Very interesting to see how they go from here on in. And so we see the riders continue to push at the moment. Really good stuff in the moment, but will they be able to make it stick? That is the question. Will Gilson be able to stay clear? Meanwhile, Lytton is on the climb.
Yeah, so Vink and Lytton making it stick here in the Category 4 race. This is the climb. We are coming up, or should I say they are coming up to 24.4 kilometres of this race. They are halfway up this first climb. It's a Category 2 climb. And the gap now back to Dallasay Giraldo. Now 2 minutes 30 seconds. So Dallasay, Giraldo and Giuliano, the three chasing riders in this Category 4 race. Then I'm going to say this, I had to stop as I read the number. It is 6 minutes back to Hoella, who is currently 6th on the road, and it is now looking like those top 6 riders on the road in the Category 4 race are the Category 4 riders in the lead of this race, because it then is Montoya on the leader in the Category 3 race, who is coming up, and this group now on the left hand side of your screen have indeed passed the rest of the Category 4 riders in this race, because this is the lead on the Category 3 race on the road. So it is a strong group here. Hadlock is here, Bulgarin, Obando, Coking, Mabin is in here as well. So this is a big group of Category 3 riders, and there's a Category 4 rider in there, but they are now...
Come on.
I was about to say, I'm trying to find, you mean you try to say something and you realise actually it doesn't work. They are now with just 6 riders ahead of them.
Yeah, it's kind of does happen. You can't say as many words as we do in a day and not occasionally run out of the right ones. It does happen to everybody. Now, whilst these riders are up here, just a quick update for you. If you have not been following the Giro d'Italia Donne, which is the women's Giro, really, really important. One of the things we talk about the benefits of being indoors is that it doesn't rain. It's safer, it's drier. Stage 1.
Did you see the photos?
Abandoned.
Oh,
absolutely pouring rain in there, and the riders were stopped. It was basically negated because it was just too dangerous. There were riders on the floor everywhere. There was no blowing up. The riders were just on the deck because it was so dangerous. Stage 2, when you'll see why I'm getting to this point, we had Amory van Vleuten taking away the win by 45 seconds from the rest of the group, doing a Gilson, basically going off the front, and she made it stick for 45 seconds. And in fact, just taking a run down through the race results to find the riders in there from the UAE team ADQ, who of course are all part of the team that MyWhoosh look after. So it's part of our team. You know, I consider them as teammates when I'm out on the bike. The fastest of our team is Erica Magnaldi at the moment in the UAE team ADQ. And McNaldy, of course, using the MyWhoosh for the training plan. So it's really, really key. Don't forget, of course, MyWhoosh is not just about racing, it's also about training.
Yeah, and her workout is indeed the climbing workout on the Tour de France 2023 workout list. So if you want to come and race in Colombia and you want to strongly perform on the Category 2 and Category 4 climbs, hers is indeed the Tour de France workout you want to use. Now, Van Vleuten credited with a 100th career victory on Stage 2 yesterday, so that is really interesting. What else is interesting? It was Stage 1 of the Tour de France yesterday.
And one of the reasons we say this is, of course, because there is competition at the moment. So if you were on Planet Mars, you may not have noticed, probably the only place you wouldn't have noticed, that MyWhoosh have got a great competition running at the moment. There are 10 workouts at the moment. 5 from the team from the UAE Emirates team of Mr. Pikachu, Yason Co. Magnaldi's women's ADQ team have got 5 workouts, and the aim is to complete those workouts, to improve, to go through those. So please, guys, jump on board the site, jump on social media, at MyWhoosh on Instagram and Facebook, my_whoosh on Twitter. Jump on board. If you haven't got the app, if you haven't got the program, if you haven't ridden, www.mywhoosh.com for all the ways to go on there.
Yeah, and just to note, if you complete all of the Tour de France 2023 workouts, you have a chance to win a signed jersey from one of the legends of the Pro Peloton.
Yep, really looking forward to that. I'm unfortunately not eligible, so no matter whether I finish all of those workouts or not, I'm not going to be able to claim a jersey. And speaking of jerseys, please, please, please do enter the MyWhoosh Tour, the championships next year, because, oh my goodness,
the jerseys.
Social media is alive with MyWhoosh championship jerseys. Absolutely covered social media. I'm absolutely loving it. Thank you so much if you're one of our riders who have received a medal, a jersey, a certificate, all of the results on there. I mean, absolutely, nobody realized this was going to happen until pretty much it hit. Only the team behind the scenes knew about this, and it's gone out to our riders. It is absolutely brilliant, and thank you so much, everybody who's posted. If you haven't done so yet, please do. We absolutely love it. Emma and I loved calling the racing on the MyWhoosh Championship, so we're looking forward to next year, where I'm hoping we can do all the same again, with even more of you joining in through the Sunday Race Club to be in a position to be in the championship. It was oversubscribed last year, so please, guys, you do need to get right in. Jump on board, download the app. You can get it on iOS, on Windows, on Android. You can run it off your iPhone, off your PC, off your laptop, your tablet, whatever you want to do. You can mirror it off your iPhone up onto the big screen, onto your cinema projector at home. You can do it in your barn in France, wherever you are around the world. You know, you're in an Ecuadorian forest.
If you're in a camper van on holiday.
Yep. We do have riders doing that as well, not us. So please do jump on board and come and join us. Now, we're on to the climb with Category 3. This is the start of the mountain. Now, the mountain is 2 sections, and we may well be able to take a quick look back at the course profile very shortly, where we can see the shape of this mountain. I love the profiles every time because I love to see the different shapes. In fact, here we go. So the Colombian profile is one. Let's skip over the first 22 kilometers. It was just a little ride around the tracks and the cycle tracks in Abu Dhabi in the UAE. It's running on. We're now onto the mountains. This is the big climb. First part of that climb is actually the harder part of the climb because it's steeper and longer, isn't it, Emma? We then have a middle transition section, and then we go on to the second part of the climb, which is much more steps. The middle section, though, you said earlier on, was critical. Now, you didn't use the word the flat, rolling and bumpy, the FRB section. This is a flat, rolling, bumpy section, which is exactly what it is. It's a term coined by Emma, but it does describe this perfectly because it is key. Now, Emma, tell us why it is key and what the effect on the riders are. You've come up this steep red section to start off with. You go into that yellow section before you hit the next red section.
Well, I think the key thing about that transition middle section is the fact that it's not... You know, when you think about what you're going to say, it's not flat. Now, the obvious thing about a flat transition is that the chase can pull someone back, because if you've got a group of riders behind, the utilisation of the draft can actually pull a chase rider back. Because it is not flat, it has downhills, uphills, it is flat, rolling and bumpy. It enables a breakaway to stay away between the 2 climbs, and I think that is key here. So that first climb, you might not win the race on it, but you could definitely lose the race on it because that transition section does not allow you to come back.
And I think the other way of looking at this also is in how you ride as a rider. If you're a solo or a small group as breakaway, I'm guessing that you're going to set your own pace more. So you're going to be able to go through that downhill, that change in rhythm through the bottom, the climb up much more so. And adapt to the terrain quicker than a big bunch. You imagine taking 100 people through a gateway. You've got to stop, everyone's got to shuffle through, you've got to shut the gate. With 3 or 4 people or one person, you go through much quicker. And it's the same when you change and you go through the dip and the rise, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just in with Rebecca Gilson there, and she has got this terrain nailed. 1 minute 40 seconds now, her lead. It was dangerous letting her go, but we're starting to see a stretch on this Category 2 race field as well. And this race field are well and truly on the climb, so it's just shy of 7% at the moment. Hermansen is leading this with Embring at the moment. Angie Parrott in 3, Julia Walkenhorst in 4, Quintero in 5, Lopez is there as well, so is Acevedo and Quintero. So some strong riders at the front of this Category 2 race, but there is a stretch on this group and gaps now starting to form in this Category 2 race field. So Category 2 on the left-hand side of your screen at 25 kilometres. Category 4, or the leader in Category 4 and the leader on the road at the moment at 26.6 kilometres into this race. Just around 1.7k in front of that Category 2 pack, and it is indeed Ella Vink. Now, we said Vink could climb, and she is indeed doing that. Lytton, who was with her for some time with that breakaway, now distanced.
And that gap at the moment showing at just around 2 minutes for Category 4 from first place Vink to second place Lytton. Dallasay at the moment is approaching about 3 minutes down with Giuliano in that group and Gerardo, so 3 riders in contention in there. That is Category 4. So that group splitting and breaking up. Category 3, well, at the moment, Category 3 is looking a bit more of a close pack and maybe waiting to break kit up on the final climb, the second part of the ascent of the mountain.
Yeah, absolutely. But all these races now coming together. So 26.8k for Category 4, 26 dead for Category 3, 25.3 for Category 2, and 25 kilometres nearly under the wheels for Gilson, leading Category 1. So Category 1 leader going shortly to see that Category 3 pack, and I don't think it's going to be long until we see these fields all coming together.
I don't think you're wrong there, and I think that's when it gets really exciting, because of course you can take the draft from other riders, and where you catch riders really important. So if you are on a climb, the differences between Category 1 and Category 4 are amplified by the gradient, so the power to weight really critical. When you're on the flat or the downhill, all the riders benefit from the draft, and that can minimize the effects of somebody in a better category sitting on the front and working hard. On a hill, they'll tend to go away. On the downhill, they're breaking that draft. They've got to do 20-30% just because they're on the front of the group. So where you're caught is going to be critical if you're in categories 2, 3 and 4 as to whether or not you're able to benefit from a big group coming up behind. As we can see, Gilson on her own doing all the work, a big group of Category 1 chasers at the moment, and that chasing group, well, they are trying to close the gap down. It's 1:41, I think, the gap between the leader and the chasing group. We're just going to get an update on this. In fact, it's gone out. It's near 2 minutes now, so heading out towards the 2 minute mark. Remember, the time gaps do vary. Now, this is because they are based on the speed of the riders as we start to see a push on here. And I think it's Daniela Marin who's starting to try and open up the gap on the front of the group. A response comes from Quevedo here. So now things are starting to break up. We're halfway up here. We're seeing a little bit of a change in rhythm. We do have a change in gradient on the way up. It's not a substantial change, but it is enough to shake things up. Quevedo very quick to answer the shout from Daniela Marin, and that was one of Emma's calls at the start of the race, that Daniela Marin would suit this climb. Quevedo has used her sprint power to get back up there, and that is a characteristic of Quevedo's riding, isn't it? That she will put in a powerful kick, and that's based probably on a sports background.
Yeah, absolutely. So 7 times world champion on the skates. not on two wheels, but that power absolutely transitioning into a phenomenal kick on the bike. And we see that regularly on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So Category 1 now coming to life behind Gilson as they are on this climb. The group are really stretching, and you can see on the right hand side of your screen that chase group now split into two, and one more rider just trying to transition across and make the juncture to the front of the pack, not wanting to be missed out there on all of the action. So Biarhead, Quevedo, Marin, Olsen, Estrada, Carvajal, Catherine, Marin as well, and Sanchez all in that front group. It's still quite a large pack in that chase group, and this is the rider they are chasing. This is Rebecca Gilson, and take a look at that. She has been passing the back markers in the Category 4, Category 3 and Category 2 race field, and she is coming up on the majority of the Category 2 field, who are not that far down the road in front of her.
They're not, and I was just taking a little bit of a check across as we see Gilson start to come up onto the Category 2 field here as to how far up our leader in the very front of the race was, given that Gilson is the last of our leaders on the road, but potentially with the fastest time. And at the moment, Elving has gone over the top of the climb. She's set the target for our riders for the Medellin City climb. This is part 1 of the ascent of the mountains, the first of the 2 climbs. Going up there, her time up there, 22:39. So a 22 minutes 39 of climbing. My idea of absolute misery and Emma's idea of absolute joy.
Yeah, absolutely. But whilst we continue to use the word absolutely, for those for those viewers, if you are joining us for the first time on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, 4 races in front of you on the screen, 4 different race starts. So our Category 4 riders started first. They have an hour and 5 minutes nearly now of racing underway. 5 minutes later, our Category 3 riders started. They're just shy of the hour at the moment. Then our Category 2 riders started 5 minutes after that, and 15 minutes after our Category 4 start, our Category 1 riders left the pen. You can see Gilson currently leading that Category 1 race, coming up for 50 minutes of racing and around 26.5 kilometres of this 35-kilometre race now under her wheels. So Gilson now pushing on. She is around 250 metres shy of the leaders in that Category 2 race, and that is Anna Embring at the moment leading that race.
And going past Gonzalez there, you can see the pace of Gilson really pushing on. Great battle though, right-hand side of your screen. Lisa Hermansen and Anna Embring.
Can I just say how beautiful that waterfall looked that Gilson was riding past? Absolutely phenomenal graphics.
It is indeed. We actually have the studio in here. We have multiple screens running, one of which is the Twitch TV live feed as you see it if you're watching on Twitch TV, which is the uncompressed version. So we get the full technical graphics on there, and I tell you something, it is absolutely stunning watching the rides. It really makes me, I always say this when we go, I want to go ride there. The problem with all these increasing worlds on MyWhoosh is I've got my bucket list of places
you want to
ride.
tour the world with your bike,
is
don't
extending. So it once upon a it was just I really want to go down and I want to ride through the streets. I want to go down and ride on the Jebel Yais or on the Jebel Hafit. Now that we've got Colombia in here, we've got Australia. I want to go ride those as well. It's not just a Lululemon underneath the Elephant Rock as it was. I've not got the legs or the speed or the time to go do all the bucket list, and it's growing as a bucket list. Not that that's a bad thing.
Well, it is Hermansen, Embring and Lopez, the 3 riders in this Category 2 race who are on the money and putting the time in at the moment, because they are leading here and working their way strongly through this Category 3 race field. So Pelagio, they're one of the riders. They have just passed Havelock, Marin, Geraldo Montoya and Ospina are up the road in front of them as they come to what is the banner signifying the end of our Category 2 climb. So one more climb to go for the leaders in the Category 2 race. Hermansen currently 15th on the road at the moment. The leaders in the Category 3 race and the leaders in the Category 4 race up the road in front.
and all of our riders in category 4, 3 and 2 through the climb, through the time up the Medellin City climb. Really interesting here to see how they are going on time, because the fastest time initially was Elevink, 22:39 in category 4. The fastest category 3 rider, as I looked at the screen just then, was Coking. Coking had put in a 20:28, so 2 minutes faster basically. Then we had Hermansen come through in category 2, 2 minutes 10 seconds faster again. So a 22:39 for Elevink, 20:28 for Coking, Hermansen 18:13 setting the time, and Gilson is still to come. In fact, she's just come
Gilson's
through. Emma,
just
what's
come
the time?
through. So Gilson has indeed just come through that climb section, and 2 minutes faster, 16 minutes 15 seconds.
So 22 minutes for category 4, 20 minutes for category 3, 18 minutes for category 2, and 16 minutes for category 1. That's not bad. Take that. That's a nice split in our leaders' times.
I say thank you very
Medellin.
much to the riders for putting 2 minute gaps in between each of the categories.
Perfect, wonderful. And that is what one of the key things for me is our riders set off with 5-minute gaps between each of our race fields. Our leaders have closed down those gaps between them and the category that set off in front by 2 minutes on the climb alone. And that climb, remember, is 3.5 kilometers. We're into the FRB section for all of our leaders, the flat rolling bumpy section, with the exception of Fink, who's reached the end of that and on to the climb. That is part 2. Now, part 2 is very different to part 1 in that it is stepped. So we have a rise, we have a leveling off, if not a slight dip, and then we have another rise again. And the finish is really tricky, very difficult to get right.
Well, get difficult to get right at the moment, as we're seeing our chase group in this category 1 race all together at the top of this category 2 climb. Now, this is really coming towards a interesting finale in this category 1 race. So we've got Gilson down the road around 2 minutes ahead of this chase group, but the chase group are all together. They have gone up our category 2 climb still as a bunch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 riders at least in that category 1 bunch.
And look at the time differences, though, on the way through. Gilson on that climb, 26 seconds, 26.26 seconds quicker than Marin. Daniela Marin, who Emma flagged has been one of the great climbers in this group, going through, leading that bunch in and through, and it was a huge bunch. You saw them come together as they went over the top of the climb, that stretch out being eliminated, but the time gap to Gilson, huge. And look at the heart rate as well. I would suggest that Gilson is right on this. 303 watts average of that section of the climb, 179 beats per minute, absolutely pushing. And one of the key things here, you can see Rebecca Gilson. I mean, she was 179 on that climb. She's currently on this rolling section. She's doing some recovery, but she's still pushing at 175 beats a minute. She's pushing on.
She's pegged her time trialing paces. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's managing her heart rate, she's managing her effort, and she is riding within herself. She knows exactly what she is doing, and she is executing that beautifully. Now, Gilson in 1. The chase group confirmed 15 riders.
So 15 riders versus 1. They need to push it. They need to push through this rolling section and onto the climb, and hope that the effort that Gilson's pushed in is going to dull her speed, and that they can put in an even higher pace on the climb. And that's going to be a big ask. So category 1 leaders, left hand side of your screen, Gilson, that we've just been talking about, in the lead, just going through the sprint, the Amazon Forest Sprint and the Rainforest Sprint, where they've just gone through, going to set the time for that Amazon Rainforest Sprint. Probably going to be the rider on the left of your screen. Right hand side, these are the leaders in category 2, and this is an intriguing battle here. Anna Embring, Lisa Hermansen in here, right in the mix with Elena Lopez here. Now, of these riders, Emma, if you were to look back through the stats from the previous month, who here has the track record. Who's the new rider? And I'm maybe going to add a couple of more riders in, because I think Para is about to make contact as well.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? We've seen a lot of movement through June as riders progress from Category 2 to Category 1 and riders progress from Category 3 to Category 2. But Hermansen did indeed have a 4th place in qualifier race number 3 in June. So looking like one of the strongest riders in this group at the moment. So we will see, I think, is my...
prediction.
There you go. That was the word I was looking for. For some reason, I had the word question in my head, and it really wasn't a question. But Para, Embring, Acevedo, Quintero, Hermansen, you know, they are strong riders in Category 2.
And we see Angie Para go off the, you know, we know that Para can put in a massive effort and do that solo, and she's really working her way up here.
Hermansen is on form. She was second in the final last week. She really has come into form, and she really is pushing on. The race at the moment that we're watching on the screen is the front of the Category 3 race on the right hand side of your screen, catching the 2nd and 3rd place in the Category 4 race. So they are now coming up into the latter stages of this race. They've got 3.3 kilometers to go, and they are now with Liberty Dallasay and Jackie Giuliano, who are currently, 3rd and 4th in the Category 4 race.
So all coming to a conclusion as we come into our final kilometers here. We have Ella Vink and Brittany Litton currently at 33.2 and 32.2k covered. Ella Vink leading this race out. She's on the right hand side of your screen. Leaders in Category 3, as I was just said, catching the chasers in Category 2. Only Litton and Vink clear up and away from these riders with a substantial gap, but Category 3 moving faster than the leaders of Category 4. Leaders of Category 2 also chasing, as are the chasers. In between them, there is the solo leader, that is Rebecca Gilson in Category 1. So this is going to come down to these final kilometers. We've got 4.4k to go for Category 1. We've got 1.5k for Category 4 leader.
Well, Ella Vink went early. She went really early off the start in that Category 4 race. She took 4 other riders with her, so it was a leading group of 5 for some time in this Category 4 race. And then Vink kicked again. Litton went with her, and those 2 riders were ahead of the rest of the race field again for some time. But when they came into that Category 2 climb, we knew Vink could climb. She'd proved that on the MyWhoosh Championships over those 8 days, over that stage race, and she showed us that climbing ability again today as she continues to work her way up this final Category 4 climb. When the segment finishes, there's 500 meters to the checkered flag.
So not going to be long before she gets there. 34.5k, that banner that ends the Bogota climb segment here on the final climb of the day, climbing up the Paso Alto, this huge mountain pass that the riders ascend here in Colombia. We're going back in with Category 1. This is the big chasing group, and at the moment, to say that we have prizes available for these riders from potentially 2nd down to 5th, so basically only 4 riders out of this group of riders are going to score. They are playing a very tactical game, and I think they're playing into the hands of riders like Karuk Quevedo with that sprint power rather than the pure climbers. The climbers need to go hard enough, early enough to break people away. They are currently at 31.5 kilometers. Approaching 32.5 kilometers is Rebecca Gilson, the leader on the road in Category 1.
Well, talking about a sprint in Category 1, in our final last week, we saw Estrada do something very similar to Gilson. She pushed on the flat section before the final climb, and then she maintained her gap all the way up that climb, 250 metres out. The pack came hard and the sprint was on in that final. Take a look, it was phenomenal finish to the Category 1 women's race. Estrada, however, hung on by less than the width of her tyre, 0.001 of a second. Estrada took that win by.
And what was the gap that they closed down then?
They closed, well, off the top of my head, I can't remember what the gap was.
I think it was about 35, 40 seconds that they pulled
really
back from memory.
came hard.
They did indeed come, but it looked like they were not going to come back at all. It looked like it was like a done deal. There was no way they were going to get even close. Boy, did they come close, and a great finish. I've watched it. You make sure you give it a watch. It's a really exciting. Watch the last few Ks of that race to see that close down and the chase and where everybody ended up now. Really interesting to see. Category 4 are leaders on the road, and you'll see in the rewinds at the start of the show, Category 4 riders are consistently getting right to the front of the race and staying there. Ella Vink did the first rider to go through the banner at 500 meters to go. That signifies the end of the Bogota climb. That is the polka dot banner, as you'd expect. Polka dot, the universal climbing jersey. Great to see that the Vink has not had her climbing speed blunted. Brittany Litton is behind, second place on the right hand side of your screen, first place on the left hand side of your screen here.
Yeah, so Vink has less than 400 meters to go, and if she looks up on the right hand corner of her screen, she'll see that yellow finish banner around that sweeping right hand bend. It's just gone out of sight as she crosses the boardwalk towards the finish of this race.
And the key points, the key numbers that riders are always looking for is 500 meters to go, 200 meters to go. That is because most riders would know that they can sprint for a clear 200 meters. As you come off the boardwalk, it's about 250 meters over the end of the bridge, and this is an uphill sprint, and that means generally it will be a shorter sprint. I think 200 meters is just before we get to this building. It's just as we're coming in here, and because of the way that we are uphill, I would be kicking as we hit the building edge here, but Vink doesn't need to worry about that. She doesn't need to kick. She can celebrate. She can have her arms up in the air. She can get that the emotions going. She can get the arms raised. She can give us whichever. Ella, it's up to you. You've ridden this in style. You've gone clear. I'll tell you something, that is some performance.
Well, as Ella Vink sees that finish line on qualifier race number 1 on the Sunday Race Club, this is July, and this is Ella Vink. She broke away early. She formed a group of 5. She took Brittany Litton with her when she attacked, and then she went solo on the climb. Ella Vink, your winner, qualifier race number 1. She takes the win in Category 4.
So great to see Ella Vink coming in and through over the line, doing an amazing job going clear. Meanwhile, you can see that Brittany Litton is going to see the leaders in Category 3 coming up at her. They are just behind, so this is going to be really tight. Now, I think Litton is absolutely nailed on for second place in the Category 4, but the battle for Category 3 is by no means done and dusted. Remember, the prizes are for 5 riders here. We are now onto that bridge that takes us to 250 meters to go. This is where they're going to push off the edge. So we've got 300 meters to go now. They're going to be on 250. Here we go. Let's see how these are going. We've got 6 riders in contention. And at the moment, it's Lady Montea who's gone hard, but she's being caught by Becker. They're starting to open this up. We're about to hit the building, and this is the run for the line. We're less than 200 meters to go. They're now in. They're over the top of the category. They're going to take the left-hand turn here. So this is the kick. This is the run. Montoya is leading this out. Claudia Marin is coming at her, and Paul Garin's pushing. Paul Garin's going to try and go over the top. Paul Garin is going to lead. This is going to be so tight. Who's going to take the win? This was so close. What a finish. We're going to get a update on there. Who's going to have that? Emma, have you got the results?
I do indeed. Paul Garin took that by 0.2 of a second.
So next in is going to be our Category 2 riders, Lisa Hermansen. On her way up this climb, Hermansen has broken clear of Quintero by 9 seconds on the run in. And Hermansen is going to make this a solo victory at the top of the Paso Alto. Lisa Hermansen wins Category number 2 here on the qualifiers. It's qualifier number 1. Who's going to get second and third place between Quintero and Embring? Embring with the blue hat goes over the top, and it's going to be the blue cap of Embring leading the way over the top, going through from Quintero. They are your 1, 2, 3, Hermansen, Embring and Quintero. These are results live, and here we go. This is Category 1.
Yeah, this is Rebecca Gilson, and that is the finish line. So Gilson's effort on the time trial away from the Category 1 pack is going to reward her with the win today. So Rebecca Gilson, Category 1, comes over the line for first place on the qualifier race number 1 in July on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
So here we go. This is the run for the line. Now it has played it into the hands of Quevedo at the moment, but behind, look at the screen. It's being lit up in red as they all come to answer her. This is all about the power. It's the pace. This is Category 1, and this is going to be a bunch sprint up a 5% slope. We're on 300 meters to go with 10 riders in contention here. Quevedo has kicked once. Can she kick again? Morgan Olsen is doing a great job in here, but Maria Marin and Daniela Marin are trying to answer this. It's going to come down to that final run to the line. Olsen and Marin at the moment. It's Daniela Marin who is leading this out with that white helmet, but the black helmet there. Karut Quevedo has gone over the top. It's Quevedo leading them in. Is Quevedo going to take this in second place? She's been challenged and passed. It is going to be Daniela Marin, I think, from Olsen and Quevedo. We're going to take a check as they come over the line. Remember, top 5 in each category getting our prizes on the Sunday Race Club. Emma, take us through our top 10 there.
What a race to start July with. Rebecca Gilson, Category 1, going over the line first in 1 hour, 7 minutes and 18 seconds, 53 seconds back. Marin, Olsen, Quevedo, Maria Marin in 5th, Santiago Giraldo, Catherine Marin in 8th, Carvajal and Morales rounding out the top 10 in that Category 1 race. Hermansen taking it from Embring in Category 2, Polgarin taking it from Claudia Marin in Category 3, and Vink taking it from Brittany Litton in Category 4.
And don't forget, all these results are live as it happens here on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel and on Twitch TV. It is MyWhoosh TV. It's MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV. Don't forget, you can catch up with all of the full results when they are unofficial and then verified on the MyWhoosh.com website. Absolutely cracking racing here today. My name's Matt Payne. You can catch me on social media at MattFixerPayne. Where can we catch up with you, Emma?
Oh, you can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram.
Well, that is the first of our races complete and done for July. We will be back a little bit later on for the men's race, qualifier number 1 in the men's competition. We'll be back next week, of course, with a qualifier race at number 2. A massive thank you for watching. A big thank you to our teams, our riders, and of course, the big gang behind the scenes in the studios, and of course, at MyWhoosh. So from everybody out there, from Emma and myself, stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.